What's going on, everybody? Smiley's Garden. We're here for another organics takeover. Really excited to have the opportunity to have met Michigan Wildflower and get to talk to her here a little bit more tonight. But a lot of you guys remember the camping event that we had, and her husband Johnny was the guy playing the music. So,
Yep.
Wildflower, I don't know if you want to introduce, let everybody know where they can find you at or whatever.
Okay, yeah. Michigan Wildflower is the name of my CBD company and farm. We do permaculture, so we do vegetables and fruit and seeds and eggs too. So we go to the farmers market every week too. And right now we're going hard at the festival thing right now, which is a lot of fun. We also own a grow store. I've owned it for 10 years and I have been growing and teaching others how to grow for the past 10 years.
Nice.
And we specialize in organic, regenerative farming practices, permaculture.
So that your whole grow store is focused on that? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part it is, but I mean, we have been a grow store for 10 years. So we started as a hydro store. So it's Green Earth Hydro. When I first started growing, I grew hydro mostly because I fired the guy who knew how to grow hydro. So I figured that since I owned the store that I needed to know what I was doing. So I've grown every single way there is. And I had started growing organic, brewing tea, roots organic, and ended right back at organics with no-till, which I don't use any bottled newts or bag soil. We do everything on our farm. And I didn't know that permaculture and regenerative farming was a thing until I went to that regenerative conference, the same one that I guess you went to. Yeah. Are you rocking the hat?
Yep.
Can't tell. Yep, you're rocking the hat. That's how I knew. But I didn't even know it was a thing. But I was living it. I was living and breathing the permaculture before I knew that there's actually terminology of it. So I was definitely bombarded with terminology at the conference, but it was an amazing experience. I learned a ton. I realized I went in there thinking I knew it all, and I found out I didn't know shit. But I mean, I know how to put it into action. I've been doing it for a long time and keeping it simple. I guess you could say it's permaculture for dummies 101 is kind of like my take on it. Or what I'm able to offer people is just getting them started, and then usually they're inspired by it and they end up on their own journey of knowledge.
No, that's what it's all about, is like trying to take little, at least for me, it has always been like you get little curiosity tidbits from different people, like the regenerative conference you mentioned. Like, I picked up so many different things that later on you're like, man, I'm going to look more into that, and dive more into that, or this piece or that.
Yeah.
It all just sparks that curiosity to get people going. So I like it. It's cool.
Yeah. I would say that is my favorite part of owning a grocery store is the amazing amount of growth that I watch people go through. I watch them wandering and they're never grown anything in their life or coming in there or coming from a dispensary, spending a retarded amount of money on their medicine and them, meeting another caregiver in there and finding a caregiver, somebody who can take care of them at, a fair price, to growing their own and then taking care of others, you know what I mean? And they're able to like medically and financially emancipate themselves, it's a really amazing thing. I feel like people literally get smarter once they start growing cannabis.
Oh, most definitely, yeah. And that's to me, that's part of the healing part about it too. Like we talk often on the lives, like about how much growing means to you. You know what I mean? Like every day you're checking on the garden. It's like a little peace spot to be in.
Mm-hmm.
Peaceful and awesome. But so do you grow strictly outdoor then, or do you do indoor and outdoor?
I do have it indoor. If we were at our house, my lights were going to be on. We were going to go in there because I have a bunch of basil I started in there too.
Nice.
That's my favorite way to start seeds, is just like all of them together in a pot, and then I divide them and transplant them everywhere and give them away. I don't know, it just seems so much happier that way. I don't know, I suck at doing the little tiny little cubes of seeds.
So you just
But
drop your cannabis seed and all your other herbs and whatever else you're gonna grow along with them?
so no, I do clones. I do pop seeds, but so my cannabis seeds are special. I start them. Those I do start individually in their own little. Oh yeah, I guess I do. I guess when I do pop seeds, I put them in with my cover crop for sure. You know what I mean? But in their own little pot. There's only one cannabis seed in there. But yeah, but I don't just throw them in my raised beds. So my indoor garden is raised beds. Like we do. John loves me a lot. He jackhammered rows out in our pole barn, and we put cedar beds in.
4-inch concrete.
Yep. Which is amazing because and then we run blue mats. So it's pretty low maintenance, and I usually run a bunch of food in there too. So I mean, there's got to be at least 20 species of plants in each raised bed at all times. Like I love build a soils cover crop. That works well for me. I am experimenting with other things too. I know there's a lot of other growers that are doing that too, especially with food, because some things are really good companion plants and sometimes they're not, and there isn't a lot of knowledge on what's good companion plants for cannabis.
What ones have you found that are not good?
I have not found any yet, but I'm sure that someday maybe it's gonna pop up.
What's your favorite one then?
My favorite one?
Yeah.
Probably obviously anything that we can eat. Basil, cilantro, dill, arugula. Like I like to do the spicy stuff in there because I feel like they're gonna have some pest control properties in them. They do on the outdoor. I haven't done any garlic or onions or anything like that in that, because I also wondered, because they are antifungal, if that's going to change anything. Cannabis seems to like a pretty good bacteria to fungus ratio, so I don't know how that will go, but we'll see. I haven't tried that yet.
No,
I've done radishes and carrots. They'll seem to do all right. I haven't seen anything that's them negatively impacting each other at all.
Right in the bed with it. And I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Harvest stuff that you're eating, that's pretty badass.
Yeah, well, it also helps you with other commerce. You know what I mean? Not just to feed us, but it grows so abundant in there, and you're utilizing your lights for other things. So our greens, a lot of times, I don't know what it is about indoor arugula.
Just give it away.
It's so fire.
Keep giving it away. Yep.
It produces a lot. I mean, because you keep harvesting it,
and it's nitrogen rich too. So I mean, that's good.
Yeah. And you can grow that right below your cannabis, and it's in that lighting. That's a good idea.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, so I do peas and beans up all of our poles, anywhere there's a pole, for our trellis, and I do all types of stuff in there, whatever I can fit in there. And I still like to use my standard cover crop, even though sometimes I end up mulching that down a lot, just because I obviously want my food to take over, or in my cannabis, of course, because that's the most important one in there. No, but all plants have purpose.
She drives me nuts.
No, that's cool. I mean, there's a lot to that we never think about. A lot of guys doing indoor, soil beds. We're thinking chop and drop and putting it right back in, but it's you can do a lot of other things with that too. And I like the idea of IPM or just using side lighting for other vegetables, just grow
you're utilizing your whole that environment. I mean, if someday I hope to have an indoor environment, or a greenhouse. I guess it had to be an indoor environment for tropicals, banana tree. I want enough room to grow a banana tree indoors.
Oh,
To 2-story greenhouse. No.
Don't let her talk to me about that.
There's a guy video. There's a guy that does I don't know, year round. It was like in Nebraska or something like that, but it was year round. He had fruits in there like lemons, and he had a greenhouse. It was like, yeah, he was growing like lemons and oranges and shit in like Nebraska. It was kind of crazy.
Dude, that's what I want so bad. I want a lemon tree, orange tree, avocado tree for sure. It's either that or we're gonna get a place in Florida that I can just grow food there half the year. No.
I like it. That's so what was your biggest hurdle, you think, about you said you were growing in hydro and transitioning over? What I guess stemmed you over to growing organically, and what do you think was your biggest hurdle in that?
Well, you know, probably all my hippie friends, they're like, you're so organic and like you have this beautiful like permaculture vegetable and fruit garden, and then you're growing hydro inside. Like, what are you doing? And I was like, you're right. What am I doing? And we had just like switched to a new system for like the, you know, because growers can't stop changing what they're doing. There's always something new, always a new light, always a new way, something you need. Darn propaganda. And they're like, why aren't you doing that? And I was like, you're right. And he's like, I just built you the system, growing it for a little while. And, you know, I had to talk him into the jackhammering, but it happened. And it was amazing. That was probably the hardest hurdle, was getting him to tear up the floor in our pole barn for our indoor. But, you know, it's something that's going to last forever. And it's so simple. It saves us so much money. Like literally getting off of your bottled newts and bag soil literally cuts your overhead in half, you know. And I feel like that's like the biggest sell that I have to people to switch, because they're like, well, what about my yield? What about my yield? The amount that you save in cost of growing by far surpass any type of that 20% increase by doing hydro for yield.
You do think you noticed a 20% kind of loss in yield?
To be honest with you, no. I mean, it's insane.
Not even close.
Yeah.
Maybe,
I wish I could show you a picture, like you said, screen
5%,
share.
Maybe 5%. Maybe.
No, I don't even think that. I feel like we're yielding more than we were, but we're utilizing more of our canopy than we were when we were doing hydro, just because we weren't utilizing our whole canopy space as we do now, because our rows were designed so far apart so that we knew that we were going to close up the canopy as they grew into each other. So I feel like we're increasing our yield. I think our yield is by far increased in that room compared to what we used to do. Yeah. But our biggest thing is definitely greenhouse growing. That's what we focus on, is if we go someday for a license or something like that, we will definitely be focusing on only being seasonal and just growing in greenhouses and doing light deprivation. We've been doing light deprivation for probably 4 or 5 years now. It's pretty amazing. I never try to squeeze more than 2 crops in, but we do a perpetual with each of our greenhouses. So we harvest one.
Sorry, how big are your greenhouses?
I don't know.
Say, I guess. Now, what I was curious about is, are you pulling tarps, and is it?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we do manually light depth. So our greenhouses are 15 feet tall, so we don't light up over the top of them. Instead, we build rails inside the greenhouse over the rows, and then we pull black and white tarp over the panda film type stuff.
Yep.
Large sheets of it over the top of it every single night. Yeah. And as soon as it's dark, we uncover them every single night. But it is so worth it. And especially here in Michigan, I know you guys can definitely relate to our outdoor growing environment is beautiful, except when it gets to the end. When it gets to the end, like we have that cold humidity, and it is really hard to combat against mold and when it's time to harvest. So what this does is obviously light deprivation speeds up your harvest, so you can harvest before we get to that point. And usually our second round is finishing before everybody else's, before it gets too crazy like that and you start getting the funky weather.
So you don't even try for a third round then to even put
Sometimes,
No.
maybe. We did a third round last year, and we harvested in November. We harvested in November last year.
I don't think it was that. I think it was like it was a late greenhouse. It was just a so we
really late.
we
So
we
really
perpetually harvest them. We don't harvest our greenhouse at the same time.
Okay.
So we start as soon as we take one down, we throw a new round in there that we've been vegging, and so they're all ready to go, and we start light dumping them right away. And same thing and so on with the other greenhouses. So I think he's just thinking of a second round that in the last greenhouse that went super late. I would love to do 2 or 3, but it's hard to fucking do just 2.
Maybe it was just a small round,
especially because ours are not climate controlled.
That didn't get enough veg time. I think that's what it was. I think we had a small run at the end in that last greenhouse that we did light dip, I think.
No, we did for sure.
Like halfway through.
Yeah. Cool thing is, like beginning of September, you don't have to pull tarps anymore.
I'm over here just talking nonsense.
That's what I was wondering if you were in the like springtime, if you were having to supplement lighting to keep them at a certain.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. But I guess if you're flipping them right away too, it wouldn't matter. But.
Not well with the springtime, you know, we have to acclimate them to the light. I mean, you always do when you're bringing stuff from outside or from inside to outside. You have to acclimate them, but it is really cold, and the light is not long enough to keep them in veg. So you still have to supplement. If anything, it's to supplement light so that they don't start flowering yet. I'm not ready for them. I want them to acclimate. Whereas the second rounds in the greenhouses, they naturally, because it's a long light cycle, they're able to acclimate before we start pulling tarps. You know what I mean? So we give them a couple days, we give them some time, but I mean, I think that they would be fine even if we didn't, but I like to give them that little extra time to get cozy in there before I start forcing them into flower.
Yeah.
More light the better, really.
Yeah, well, that's what I was wondering. Like, because a lot of them I've seen will actually monitor how much like sunlight, so in cloudy days they can supplement and stuff like that too.
We're not that high tech. I mean, you know, I'm all about
low tech.
No, yeah, low cost. You know, we want to be able to survive in the Green New Deal or, you know, off grid or whatever, you know, whatever it ends up being, you know, like that's what things are moving towards. Sustainable, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, even better would be like that's the whole idea, like the regenerative through like flows and loops and whatever. No.
Yeah, we've tried to we are working towards it. At least one greenhouse being more climate control. Like we're going to be running radiant heat floors in the sand underneath our rows. So that's the other thing too. Like I don't use pots.
I want the radiant heat.
Except in veg.
Okay.
I do use pots and veg, but I don't like to use pot outside. We don't even do raised beds. We just do mounds. Like I watch people trying to use sticks to or logs to close in their rows, but I mean, if you mulch, you're not going to have much erosion anyways. And if you're running irrigation, I love blue mats. Those are like by far my favorite. They're a low pressure system, and you can use one spigot to run a shitload. And you also can use collected water too. Like, so it's the low pressure system. Like you can use your reservoirs outside too.
On top of that, they won't start watering until every hose is full of water. So you have an even base of watering.
Yeah.
So when the full, I mean it takes like 15 minutes to have. So yeah, if you have 9 rows at 30 feet of irrigation. So you have 9 different rows and they all have dead ends. It's going to take 15 minutes for that whole entire 9 rows to fill up with water. Right. And then after that, you're actually getting watering because the soaker hose is emitting. That's how the blue mat works. You don't get emission until all the different sectors or sections of the blue mat is filled completely.
Yeah, it's got to build pressure like a sock.
Do you use them too?
It has to be full pressure. It has to be full pressure for them to emit the 12 or 6 inches on each side of the hose emission. You know what I mean? And they will emit that. It's great. It's a great irrigation system.
Do you use blue mat or do you use any irrigation?
Yeah, I was actually gonna question if you guys that runs really well off like a gravity feed, or are you running a pressurized system?
So we run it out of our spigot, but this year my compost tea reservoir, I'm gonna try to hook it up to that because usually we'll just run a hose like that's gravity fed and there's just the bottom of it because it's one of those ones that comes into a cone. Okay. We just hook, it's got a spigot that we can just hook a hose and we just hand water our teas. But I do want to try to hook it up to it. I haven't tried it yet to see how it works.
See, what I ran into, I had gravity feed reservoirs that the dripper, I had the old drippers. Then when I got the soaker hose, the pressure wasn't enough for it. So I was having problems actually getting it to really consistently water. It would water. It wasn't like it wouldn't. It just didn't function properly. Like kind of like what Johnny was explaining, how it's got to have the full loop and pressure. And it was like the gravity feed didn't supply that enough. So I actually just had to switch to the pressure reducer and like a spigot type setup.
Okay. So you're running them in outdoor then?
No,
indoor. Okay. And you're not using carrots, right?
I have the little carrot, yeah.
Okay. So are you filtering the water before you run it through your blue mat then?
Yeah.
It is filtered water. Okay, that's why you're trying to run it up your reservoir. So I won't lie, I am not a big fan of the carrots though. I love the soaker hose, but I'm not a fan of the carrots. Timer.
Okay.
And that's a little old school, I guess, but you know, and it keeps the human part, keeps me out there, keeps me checking, looking at my soil, looking at the life in my soil, you know, deciding if I, you know, need to add anything, you know what I mean? And also, I mean, really, honestly, the time I spend in my garden is mostly for pest control. When you have that irrigation set up, you have a lot of time to plant food and deleaf your plants. And when you're deleafing, that's why I love deleafing. And I think it's one of the most important parts of IPM because you are examining your plants the whole time. So you're going to, if you ain't in there deleafing, you ain't going to catch, you know, stuff in time. You know what I mean? Which I guess is the whole purpose of IPM is so that if you always are treating, you're never going to get anything. As long as you're always being active in prevention, you know, nothing's going to get out of balance, you know, because it's all about natural balance. I mean, we do have some greenhouses that just have incredible ecosystems in it that we don't spray. Like, so because we spray and veg. Like I do an EM1 that I make. I love Dr. Zymes and I love Sup Oil. So I'll do a combination of those. I do love Mountain Organics too. I don't know if you know them. They make a sprout tonic and a neem tonic. They like their tonics. They're pretty cool, small company. I think they're in Colorado. I don't know.
So yeah, they were on a Future Cannabis Project episode. So shout out to like Leighton Morrison and Brian. They do one tomorrow, an organics episode every Thursday during the day. So Mountain Organics is on one of those. So,
oh cool really?
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So I don't really.
Yeah, if you haven't seen those, it's a great weekly weekly show. I would enjoy it.
I know, man. I gotta get on the YouTube world. You know what I'm saying? That's why I believe. I mean, it was fate that I was set in a camper, in the middle of a fire spot or fire pit family right there, and they were all YouTubers.
Yeah.
It was meant to be.
Yeah.
Not just YouTubers, organic cannabis YouTubers. What's up? I mean, you can't say that wasn't meant to be.
No, that's cool. No, and I'm glad it worked out. Actually, it was perfect timing. A lot of things fell in place for it to happen, so that you could be on. So for sure. And did we mention you had there's an event coming up in August 8th or something like that, or
Yes.
18th?
Rainbow Farms. Yep, Rainbow Farms is coming up. It is August 7th, 8th, and 9th, or is it 6th, 7th, and 8th? Let's see here.
And where's Rainbow Farms?
Rainbow Farms is in Vandalia. Actually, it has a history of rebellion against the prohibition of cannabis.
Nice.
There's even books written about the place. The people that used to own that property used to hold hemp aid and roach roast, and they were Memorial Day and Labor Day. So on Memorial Day, this is the first time like it's been resurrected, and which is really cool and pretty amazing. I don't know if you've ever been down there to it. There was a
I've
few
been
of them
in the area. I don't know that I've been to that farm specifically or been around it, but I do know the area. Yeah.
Okay, so they did two festivals, music festivals earlier this year, and one of them was Hemp Aid on Memorial Day. And then they have another one coming up the 7th, 8th, and 9th. And I think they're going to have a couple more throughout the year. It's a beautiful venue. So much amazing energy there. Everybody's so happy. It's a very free place. Lot of love there for sure.
So it's kind of like a camp out festival like the Bigfoot was? Is that?
Yeah, it's exactly like that. So everybody camps. They have a lot of live music and DJs, EDM DJs at night. They usually shut it down fairly early because it's really definitely once all the vendors are there and the people are there and all the campers are there, it's kind of all in like snug tight, all of us together. So like, it usually shuts down, I feel like pretty early. So at least the last one did.
Okay.
So everybody could actually go to sleep. We sleep in our vendor tents. So luckily we were far enough away from the stage that we actually did go to sleep.
So that's
Not
cool.
always.
Yeah, not always.
guys-
Well,
That festival that you left and I stayed there, that DJ booth was right next to our tent.
oh man. Well, I wasn't there the night.
Literally
It was
right
all
next to our
nighter.
tent. And I still passed out at 2 o'clock and slept until 8. With that thing blasting right next to me.
Everybody seems to sleep really good at the cannabis festivals. I don't know what the deal is.
Yeah.
Everybody talks about
I
how good
wonder
they
why.
sleep at night and like how early
Yeah.
they fall out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they are a bunch of potheads. You know what I mean? What do you expect?
Right? I was just laughing because that's
It's like-
everybody eats more edibles or RSO or smokes more than they usually do, and like
Oh, yeah. And all the like sampling, man,
And
that
it's
goes
good,
on.
and it's good vibes too, right? It's good vibes.
It is
It
for
is a
sure.
relaxed environment.
Sleep steady. You sleep steady.
What is it? No, but that what Rainbow Farms reminds me of is like music festival meets, cannabis festival. You know what I mean? So yeah, you have the best of both worlds, I feel like there.
Who knows what's gonna be like this time, but
they're also involved in a lot of other cool stuff in their community too. Like they were like children orientated events. That's what they're looking at doing. They're even talking about doing like a wedding venue there, like different. They're trying to expand and get ideas of how they're going to use our best way to use that campground.
Yeah.
So they're like
badass, a
they're
smoking wedding. That's a kick-ass idea. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
they're utilizing it for cannabis events maybe 3 times a year.
Yeah, but
4 times a year, so they can fill time up with wedding venues or what
Yeah.
you're saying?
Yeah. So, and then private events, and I know they have like a family friendly event coming up in the fall. I can't remember the name of it, but it was how I found Rainbow Farms, actually, because we do a lot of like traveling with other festivals, music festivals, and like hippie festivals, where we travel with Hippie Fest. And so that's how I was just signing up for another event, and then it turns out that, you know, there's going to be cannabis vendors too. So
Yeah.
not just us. Well, we just do CBD at them, but you know.
Why I love my wife.
But yeah, oh yeah, I am doing a regenerative organics or cannabis 101 on Saturday, and then like just a permaculture for dummies 101 on Sunday there. So, and I am going to be handing out coupons to the attendees to my workshop for free clones of some of my genetics. They won't be there on site, but they'll get a coupon and they can go to my shop to pick them up. So
Okay. That's smart though, because everybody always wonders about clones getting handed out at events, and you're like,
I don't know. It just,
Yeah.
you know, we got so much going on that there's already too much going on. I can't imagine trying to take care of some plants while I was there too. And
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
right. You know, you don't want them to get contaminated, you know.
Or if it's a hot day or something. I mean, they sit out and it's like,
yeah.
It's way better.
But I will be handing out a 2-page syllabus or guide or instruction for starting up no-till or in organics. And, you know, I'm gonna put you guys on there too, but I'm gonna have a reference page with all my favorite people that are smart and know what they're talking about when it comes to permaculture and regenerative growing techniques.
oh yeah. So 101, so it's for a class for getting started at it, which is beautiful because a lot of our listeners even are getting started at it or first year into it or whatever. So I don't know what kind of pointers you got going on in the class. I don't know if you want to give the whole thing or if you want to.
You definitely got to show up.
Let me pull up my notes.
Yeah, we want people to show up, right?
You gotta show up to Rainbow Farms and
yeah. We'll give the Cliff Notes version.
Get the big time.
I mean, that's kind of the biggest question I think a lot of people have is like, where do they start with a soil mix, right? Like what's an easy mix? And you got a grow store, and a lot of people aren't necessarily mixing theirs. So what would your recommendations be as far as some of the thoughts people could have to like a starting a living soil bed or even in a pot type stuff?
Okay, so I do have some recommendations for that, but before I say that, I mean, what if someday came that you couldn't go to my store anymore? You know what I mean? I'm not trying to push my products. Right. I want to push people on how to do it themselves and make it themselves. And I really think that it's super important for people to learn how to do that. I mean, we are all born with that sacred knowledge to be able to cultivate everything. I mean, honestly, it grows by itself, you know, like I'm embarrassed to show people my garden sometimes, but when they get out there, they're like, no, this is amazing, because I let so many things grow. Like my weeds are weeds are my medicine. Other people's weeds are my medicine. You know what I mean? So literally, right? But and you know, there's so many things. Like I say, all plants have purpose. So like there's a lot of wild stuff that grows out there. And I feel like it's important for people to learn how to like identify plants and identify their uses. Especially when it comes to growing food, you know? I mean, what if you can't go to the store anymore someday? I think that it's important for people to know not only how to grow their food, but how to grow it next year, you know? Like, and how to rebuild your soil after the snow melts, you know, that's important. And so I know it sounds crazy, but seriously, I had such a like epiphany, rebirth, or whatever you want from that conference. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not part of the solution. am part of the problem. You know what I mean? And so I just like, you know, instead of going in there and tearing down the walls, you know, I just slowly use my platform to help turn people into the right direction. And this is the missing link to that. I used to do classes. I used to have amazing people at my store that would do classes, but I don't have the time. And like, this is it. Like, to be able to do the tutorials and have them free and recorded forever, that's where it's at. That's what, you know, where I guess my end game is, to teach people to be able to do this. You know what I mean? Since I can't teach them in person anymore, or yeah, can't teach them in person anymore. I mean, I guess I am while I'm bending at Rainbow Farms though.
So somebody wants to start a garden in their backyard. What would they do, or what tips would you have for them to start prepping the soil for this winter or this fall?
Okay, for next year.
Yeah.
So leaf mulch is the most amazing thing in the entire world. Everything you need. I remember there's one nerd that worked for me. He is like, everything you need is in this leaf pad. He's so right. You know what I mean? The microorganisms, the indigenous microorganisms that live on the surface of leaves are amazing. You know what I mean? That's how you get your FPJs, you know, to take off, is like those dirty leaves. They're dirty with I don't know, air, the microscopic organisms in the air that are beneficial. But it has everything in it that you need. And I mean, if you think about like the deep roots of a tree, like, I mean, there's absorbing nutrients from, you know, a long time ago, not just, you know, the more recent layers. So they're very rich in everything. So like, I guess mulching your beds with leaves, you know, lots of leaves, and allowing them not to decompose. Stay away from walnut. Walnut is really high in tannin. I haven't tried to I haven't tried like to see like if that can be composted out, but you know, I just leave it alone on that. So like, but any other leaves are, for the most part, are good. Composting, if you don't have animals, like farm animals, even chickens, like I save my chicken poop. I also will be doing a tutorial on how I do that very efficiently.
Wait till you see the pile.
And then I don't have large animals for manure, and I do think that manure is really important for composting. In fact, it should be your base. It should be most of it. We have a lot of horse farms up and down my road, and horses have amazing diets. And our neighbor doesn't have a tractor, so we clean out her pasture in exchange to keep the poop. And then there's other ones that just don't want it, so we go over there, just go up and down the road with our dump trailer and our tractor, collecting everybody's horse poop. And some of them will take some of it back in compost. I hope someday that we can get into a nice closed loop system where we're growing enough food that I can give you know, starting with my neighbor, of course, Shelby, my amazing neighbor. She's one of my best friends. Feeding her horses, like helping her feed the horses from food that we grow, you know, once we start getting into grains. Because I try to grow some of my chicken food too. I let a lot of stuff grow to seed. So I have a crazy mixture of seeds that I feed to my chickens too. But that's all permaculture is all about, is having lots of closed loop systems, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Now, you said you think the poop and animal manure should be the base. What makes or why would you say that, I guess, for somebody new to it?
So I do a lot of straw too, but I mean, that's your green, I guess. I don't know. So I guess maybe it's not most of it, but I mean, it seems, and also it's already partially broke down, and it's got a lot of microbial content, which is what, you know, is in your inoculation. Like, their manure is just like a bomb of microorganisms, you know what I mean? But our leaves, we do a lot of leaf in it too. The leaves. We mostly have wooded property, so we're very blessed to be able to have our own leaves. I guess I can't say it's the base, but I do use a lot of manure. The more manure I have means the bigger my piles get to be, I guess. Because they do break down quite a bit. So I guess I can't. I was misworded that it's not my base because there's definitely a lot of straw and leaves in there, meat leaf mulch.
We pick up a lot of calf compost, so I mean it's
yeah. No, I mean we haven't. So and then I also will have lots of good sources for some local farmers around us, and that's what I recommend people do for finding compost to be. So I guess more compost is my base of my beds. Like I don't use any filler. Like, you know, a lot of people, I've heard the recipe, like, like thirds, like a third compost, a third aeration, and a third filler, which your filler is like your peat moss or your cocoa. I don't understand why that people use that. It's not necessary. It's just, and that's why I call it filler. Like
what would you suggest?
You don't need that. You just need compost. So like compost is like my soil. So once we compost and it turns to soil, because it does, your compost pile turns to soil. We use that as our base. So we do mounded rows, like I was saying, for all over my garden. I don't build raised beds anymore. I just do mounded rows. And I will amend those with a couple things.
What couple things?
I love paramagnetic rock. I do paramagnetic rock. I like Tennessee rock. I usually use what I have, kind of thing. Like what I try to do is have a baseline cover of all of the macro micronutrients. So I want to make sure like I have some nitrogen, whether it's cottonseed meal or feather meal, or stinging nettle mulch is really high in nitrogen, or clover mulch, or FPJs. You know, I try to harvest some of that stuff and dry it, so that I can use that to amend beds too, to add those nutrients to it. Comfrey, dynamic accumulators, that's what those are called, right?
Yeah.
I like to make FPJs out of those too.
So what do you mean by FPJ? I'm gonna do this for class for dummies. I know you know what I know what it means, but I'm just saying for anybody listening, FPJ.
So FPJ is a fermented plant juice. It is basically extracting nutrients from some of the dynamic accumulators I just mentioned. Some of my favorites right there off the bat, like I said, is clover, which I guess those are more of a cover crop, but still I mulch them, and I know that the roots nitrogen fixate. I guess I really don't know if their leaves do in the plant ferment, but it works well. Is that, you know, so like I guess you can say that I'm not a doctor or scientist. I've just kind of just been doing it. Right. And you know, I'll, you know, read a couple things about it and try it, and if it works, it works. I know like a lot of it is just like I go with my feel or like my vibe with, you know, the energy I'm feeling with that plant, and if it's gonna work. So I'm kidding, but like for instance, like picking what I'm gonna use to make a FPJ. So I know some people there is an ideology that you pick a plant that's vibrant, healthy in its environment. Like, so something that's growing fast and thriving in its environment, that's where you want to harvest that from. And you pick a plant that's in the same life cycle period as the plant, as your plant that you're feeding. So if it's vegging, you want something that's just like blowing up vegging out there, you know, just has exploding leaf growth. Like that's what you want to harvest to make your FPJ. Or if you're in flowering, you want to use, I don't know, some flowers that are flowering out, and just, you know, especially when they're like an explosive growth, because that means they have growth hormones going on and they're really active in there. So you're like harvesting the growth hormones too. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So how do you make your FPJ?
So it's like you take the leaves or whatever that you're going to use to make an FPJ, and you like muddle it with like a 1 to 3 ratio. So like 1/3 sugar or molasses and 1/3 whatever plant you're using. Some people say to rip it up or shred it if it's a larger leaf, you know what I mean, like comfrey. I sometimes do that, sometimes don't. I don't know. Not exact science on it, you know what I mean? So you muddle it and cover it and let it sit there, you know, for a couple hours, and then transport it into like I use like a clay pot. And then I just cover it with like a pillowcase or a sheet, and let it, you know, start to oh yeah, and put a brick on top of it, so it's like pushing all the air out of it, and just cover it for a few days, and then you go check on it. Once you see it start to bubble, and you're getting some type of like excretion of juices coming out of it, you know that it's working. If you're not getting enough juices pulling out of it, you can always add a little bit of water to it. And then I just let it ferment, and you'll know when it's ready because it will smell kind of like sour, alcohol-y, and be bubbly. It's pretty important, I guess. I guess I don't really. It's like a set it and forget it thing. I guess you're not supposed to like disrupt it and keep messing with it because you want it to keep settling and bubbling and fermenting. And then I strain it, and then I dilute it and water it to my plants.
So that's what I was just gonna ask. How do you apply that, or in what kind of mix ratio would we want to?
Oh gosh, I'm so bad at like measuring things. I don't know.
I've heard
Maybe
1,000 kind of a.
yeah,
It's like a little bit.
yeah. Yeah, I'm really bad at measuring things. Yeah, I just pour a little bit in there and the reservoir that I'm going to feed to my plant, which is, I don't even know how big it is. I might be at like 100 gallons. I know it's bigger than a 55-gallon barrel.
So do you apply that to like the soil, like in a soil drench, or are you foliar feeding that?
No, I will feed it to the soil. I'm pretty sure you can do a foliar spray though too. The only like foliar spray that I kind of a slacker in my foliar feeding for sure. But the foliar spray that I guess I do, the only one that is like super beneficial I'd say is the EM1.
Okay.
Which is the best EM1 you can buy it. But the best one is one that you make, because you are collecting indigenous microorganisms in your air. So they're obviously going to work best with your environment. And you're going to get more diversity. You know, like the stuff that you buy has like 2 different strains in it, and that's usually it. And it's like in vitro instead of natural vitro. I don't know. What is that called? Natural vitro.
In vivo.
In vivo. There you go. Told you I'm working on my terminology.
No, you're good. So how would you go about making your own EM?
I'm trying to think of where I don't know. Like, I don't know. I must have watched a video or something.
Okay.
And I really went deep down. I guess I did watch some YouTube videos on it, because I was watching people that like, there was really long videos from like, I couldn't tell if they were speaking English or a different language, or Korean at some points, because they had such strong accents. But I did dive deep into that, and it's used a lot in India too. It's used in poor countries. They use it for a lot of things. They use it to clean. They use it for their crops. They use it for their compost. Yeah.
No, that's cool. Yeah, there are videos on like lactobacillus extracts and different things. But I don't make those myself. I was using the bottled brand, the EM1. So
It's super
always
easy
worked
to
well.
make. Yeah. It's super easy to make with milk. I know that there's a vegan way to do it. I don't remember exactly how he does it, but there's a guy on YouTube. I don't even remember his name. I watched it a few times and I still don't fucking remember. But
Vegan
there is a way.
microbes.
Huh?
I'm just
What's that?
chuckling at the vegan microbes. That's good.
Oh yeah. Well, there's I don't know. Well, that's what I don't know. I was watching one of your videos and they were talking about like vegan compost and just like, I mean, you're missing out on, like I said, your microbial, like your starter, you know what I mean? I don't know. I mean, I guess if you're like taking uh a starter from your old compost and mixing it into your new one, I guess you don't have to worry about that. But
Yeah, there are certain different microbes in manures than there are to like the plant-based stuff. But like what you were talking earlier, the microbes that are on the leaves from the environment and indigenous, just like the leaf pile, as those decay, that's the same biology. So you'll still get the similar effect. You're just going to have to use greens as a replacement for like a manure kind of thing.
right. We definitely, there's a lot of greens in ours too. Like, I mean, we compost whatever, everything, but the stuff you're not supposed to, like citrus and a meat. Although, like, if you're using bokashi, you can. And I mean, you could probably, I don't know. I've seen, when I was on Instagram, I seen DM do some pretty crazy, gnarly concoctions, like dissolving fish and bone into their uh I don't, maybe it was an FPJ or some type of EM1, two or
Yeah, they have
three.
a fish amino.
3, 4,
That
5.
one's gross. I give it anybody credit.
You know what I'm talking
The
about?
fish amino acids, man. I watched one dude and he started blending up whole fish, and I was like, oh,
Mm.
just like I
Have you
couldn't do it, dude. No way.
have
But
you ever seen, you know who Nectar of the Gods is?
yeah, definitely.
Have you ever seen them? Like they like said that on, I know on their page they've showed like videos of them making some of that stuff, and I shit you know they're like throwing squids and like Vitamix.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
they
pretty
they get some
crazy.
funny smells. I was running the Nectar of the Gods line
Oh,
for about a year or whatever, but they definitely get some funny smells out of some of their stuff too. So
yeah, they got some funky ones like that Pegasus pushing. That one's pretty gnarly. Um,
the Triton's Troll, I think was the one that got really funky. It was like a crack.
yeah, that one's funky too.
Yeah,
I think the
one
Kraken
of them
too.
just made you just yak every time it popped the bottle. It was like, oh, why do I use this again?
and,
I think
and
they
then,
even added like a mint smell to it or something. Scott
yep,
was
I
saying
know
in
what
one
you're
of the
talking
videos, like,
about. Yeah.
and it wears off like after a little bit, and you're like, yeah, about halfway through the bottle, you're like, oh, yeah, I know why they added this smell.
Oh man. I know, and it's such a long recipe. Like it's definitely well divided into, the pieces, and I don't know if that's
Yeah.
required for organic already liquid, you know what I mean, ready to go stuff. But yeah, it's an intense regimen for sure.
No, and
You know?
shout out though to them guys because they do put out a lot of information, and
Oh,
honestly, that
yes.
was like my foot into organics was like, I just wanted everybody was talking about nectar or whatever at the time, and I was like, yeah, I want to try it and be cool and organic and whatever, and then it's
Oh
like
man.
you
I
start
think his
figuring
name's
out what they
Scott.
put in, what they're doing, and like he's open about what they do. They talk about it, you know what I mean? And I think Scotty even at one point was like, you can do all this shit and try amend it and do all the same shit. And I think that's why
Yeah.
they put out the one shot or whatever too now. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Dude,
yeah, if
for
you
real. Shout out to
anybody
Scotty, man.
that's starting and wants to understand nutrients, I think, what you're adding in, that Nectar Bible has so much information. It's just, it's about their product or how to use their lineup, but you can always look at what's in the lineup there and get it figured out too. So
Yeah. No, he's super cool. They actually collect rainwater for their nutrients too.
yeah.
Um Yeah, he was awesome. He hooked my store up quite a few times, and we do have a pretty big following for Nectar of the Gods there for sure. Yeah. Um. Yeah, I have no idea how we got onto Nectar of Gods and how stinky they are.
Something like that. Shit, I got stoned now. Everybody in chat was teasing me about smoking a joint. This is why I don't, because then I forget fucking questions.
Right. Um.
Oh, we were talking compost before that. So, how often are you applying the compost, or how are you applying the compost?
Okay, so I have a couple different things that I do with my compost. One of them, when it's ready and it looks like soil, and when I dig deep enough of it, it's not too warm anymore. I know it's ready. We flip ours a ton too. I mentioned to you we use the pond water to get some of our aquatics in there, and oh shoot, there's
Do you,
something else with that, but anyways, I use those to make new beds, but I re-amend my beds with new compost almost every year. Like if it's a really nice mound, sometimes I don't, I'll just amend it with amendments, not just compost. It depends when I pull back how things are growing on it right away. Like if there's stuff popping up right away and it's growing really well, like there's plants growing like as soon as it starts getting warm, because some things will start growing right away. Or when if it had a good mulch on it, if I pull back and there's something going on in there, then and it's a high enough mound, I won't touch it. I might add some amendments, but I mean there's plenty of times that I've grown and stuff that I didn't do much to, but usually once a year. But I try to in the winter if I can to do the leaf mulch. And then I love barley straw. Barley straw is one of my favorites. It's got a great fungal content to it, so I boost that. It's almost like it's a substrate of. It's almost like mushrooms were grown in it. I know mushrooms start growing on it if I leave it in the rain and forget to open it up.
yeah, no doubt, man. It's a great addition. That now, when I add those like the straw, like I'm putting that as a top part of the mulch, and then letting it decompose. Is that kind of what you're talking about there
Yeah.
too? Yeah.
Yes, I love to use barley straw. I might be using wheat straw. So my Amish dude that I get my barley straw from, he is not doing barley straw anymore. So he's not doing that. So he's trying to turn me on the wheat. I was gonna research a little bit. I mean, I don't know. What do you think about using wheat straw instead of barley straw? I don't know. I guess I've just always used barley straw.
I didn't think it would matter so much. I guess I wouldn't. I don't know the specifics either. I don't know the specific difference, but I know like so hay is where they harvest the whole grain head, and then the straw is like the leftover straw stalks behind or whatever. So like
Okay.
there's the two like distinctions from that. So like the straw, I don't know, because that's basically just the stalk of the wheat or the barley, either one.
Really? I did not know that. So I always thought that hay was like grass. And the like straw was like more from, I don't know, like wheat and barley grain. I don't know, because it look different. I mean I could be totally wrong.
They
But
do
when
look
I'm look
different. Like one's
or
more
maybe
like
it's just
seed, and
my
the other.
neighbor has spoiled horses, because like her straw is like green with flowers in it. It's like the most amazing looking straw I've ever seen, or hey I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So like maybe that's why I'm confused. But
I
I
mean,
don't
I'm
know.
not a farmer, but that's my understanding of the difference.
Yeah,
Because I
I
have
don't
to
know.
look it up too.
Because
Well, it's important because you can go buy hay or you can go buy straw. Like there's a difference there too.
yeah,
So.
for sure. And I mean, I don't know what my big kick is on barley straw. I mean, other than I've heard that it has amazing fungal content, and I know it's used for like cleaning up algae and ponds too. And maybe it's just because build a soil. Maybe that's why I'm loyal to the barley straw. I don't know. And I got lucky that there was an Amish guy out by where we live that I was able to pick it up from for a good price, and it's organic. He has an organic farm, but he's trying to switch me to that because my stock of barley straw is almost gone. But there's definitely, they don't cut the seeds off of it because my shit, I got barley straw growing everywhere. So I figured that I was going to leave some of my rows and just like let them go and harvest the seeds, either for my chickens or just to keep doing my own straw. You know what I mean? I mean, why not? Maybe it's just a sign I'm supposed to grow my own mulch now.
Well, that's an interesting idea too, or thought process to it, is like let that grow up, chop and drop it, and let that be the mulch. Because I mean,
We did that.
after seasons of doing it, how often are you really having to add more mulch and top? I mean, I guess you're always adding top mulch, but like at a certain point, you don't really want it so thick, is what I was kind of trying to get out of my stone brain.
um yes, so like I like it thick if I don't want weeds to grow, like if I don't want more plants to grow, wherever I don't want plants to grow, I like it thick. Where I do want plants to grow or seeds that I've placed down, I usually do it a lot thinner. But it's for a lot of it is for the control of my ground coverage, I guess. I don't know. I mean, that's what anything that I don't want growing in there easily pulls out because it doesn't have this, embedded root. So it's easy for me to weed. Sometimes we just weed whack, depending on what it is, especially in the greenhouses. Um, and the longer rows, like our fruit rows, like our berries, like fruit trees and berries.
Yeah, nice.
But I try to grow everything. Like I am a big fan of what's it called, companion planting.
Okay.
So I am doing like the fruit guilds, for the fruit tree guilds, where you just grow a lot of things together that grow well together, to benefit each other and to utilize every little, square inch of soil there. You know what I mean? So like I do strawberries around all my fruit trees too, and daffodils because those are supposed to keep away squirrels, I think. And chives or onions and garlic. So yeah, I try my best to put the right things in the right places, and they seem to work out okay so far.
So that's all around the outside of the greenhouse that we were talking about?
No, this is just in my garden, my vegetable garden,
Okay.
fruit gardens. I have gardens fenced everywhere. Like it's like someday it's gonna be like a maze through our properties of like section off areas. Just because we're mostly wooded where we live. Um, so I love foraging too, but even in the woods, especially mushrooms. Uh, so I'm always torn between like more grow space, and I think that's another thing that turned me into permaculture is that you can grow a lot of food in a smaller space because I don't have the heart to cut back, so that I have more sun. Um, I have no idea where I was going with that, but yeah.
So what vegetables do you got going in the garden then? I just started a garden this year, so now I'm all excited about veggie garden.
Yay! Yeah. I grow everything. A lot of stuff comes back. I love perennials. Lots of herbs are perennials. Obviously your fruit trees. This we have peach trees that are really young. And apple trees and pear trees that are very young too, like they're not producing fruit yet. Um, but we do have blueberries and raspberries, strawberries. But you asked about vegetables. I
No, that's
have,
fine. I like it. Yeah, all that.
I
I like
do.
the fruits better actually. But
Yeah, I do a ton of different greens. I love arugula. Arugula is like my favorite green ever. And a lot of stuff comes back from seed because I let so much of my garden go to seed all the time. I mean, I have seeds that I'm harvesting right now from stuff that sprouted from last year. So if you need arugula or cilantro or kale, Russian kale is my favorite, so I have a shitload of that. Seeds, let me know. I got you. And lettuces too. I we do a lot of mixed greens. Everything. I grow everything. I mean, eggplants,
How do you grow your
spaghetti corn.
arugula? Are you doing it spaced out, or do you do like really tight rows where they plant them? I've seen them where they
Well,
plant them really close together and they harvest them quick. You know what I mean?
I don't do that. So I guess I do sometimes, but it's very messy. Like some people are like kind of like, oh, this looks crazy in here because I do the companion planting. So I have so many different things in so many different beds. So there's like arugula everywhere. Like just all over the place, over this bed or this bed, up in another garden. Um, so when I thin stuff, I hate throwing them away. Like, I mean, I try to eat them, but they're microgreens and I end up getting dirt everywhere and they get smushed underneath other things I'm harvesting. So it never works out. I always try to bring a separate bowl, still doesn't work out. But I try to transplant as many of them as I can. They're like when I love throwing seeds in one spot or multiple spots here and there. And coming back and thinning them. And I try my best to transplant as many of the plants that I pull out and thin. So, and most plants you can do that with, except for radishes. Radishes don't like that. Carrots are actually not bad though. You would think that I've heard people say like you can't transplant the carrots, but I mean, as long as you you get them when they're young, and you like put your finger all the way in there, make a nice long hole, they actually stay pretty straight.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I found out that watermelon do not like to be transplanted either. I learned that.
Oh, well, you mean maybe if babies they would though, like if they were little like.
No, I sprouted them, and yeah, like I guess they're really, really sensitive in their root system because I transplanted them. Like, yeah, I popped them indoors in the little cups or whatever of soil. But yeah, transplanting them, they didn't. They just were like stunned. So
Really?
yeah, and then I started reading up on it. I'm like, what's wrong with my watermelon? And that was the one thing they were suggesting was to like, you know,
Not do that.
yeah, to like sprout them where they're gonna grow. And like I'm drawing a blank.
That's so hard to do in Michigan though, because we just do not have the heat and a long enough growth season to do that. But they grow watermelons in Michigan. I actually, we were on over down south here in like the Three Rivers maybe area, or Parksville, maybe Parkersville, maybe. Anyways, there's a watermelon farm out there, and we were like, every time we drove by there, we're like, what the hell are they growing? They literally had like little tiny greenhouse rows, like rows out there, and we just could not wait. And then one was like blown up, and we're like, stop trying to look and see what it was. And I bet it was watermelons, and sure enough, it was fucking watermelons. But I shit you not, like, what was it? End of May, beginning of June, they had straight up full blown watermelons out there in Michigan. It was pretty amazing thing. Those guys know what they're doing over there.
They're fat for
I do not know what I'm doing with the watermelon. I have none of them that have like they just started flowering now, so I'm like,
I have some little ones. When I went out there, so you said you didn't do that, but I sprouted 4 watermelon seeds in a 1-gallon pot, and I ripped them apart and transplanted them, and I have watermelons, so I don't know. I mean, the ones I left in the pot still are growing too.
Yeah, no, I don't know. Yeah, they just started, so maybe it was the soil too, because I did bring in like a really cheap soil mix and like did some half-assed thought out amendments. I thought, I don't know. It's funny, but yeah, the water. Everything else is rocking and rolling though, and cantaloupe's doing really good right next to him. So something.
What else are you doing out there?
Tomatoes and peppers, and yeah, there's a few different kind of tomatoes, a few different kind of peppers. Strawberry. I did a whole strawberry bed.
Nice.
And then I got some broccoli that might make it. I don't know. I got kind of tore up early on in the season, and then I failed at kale. And I didn't fail at it. It got overgrown. I tried interplanting it like in between my peppers and tomatoes, and then it just, I don't know, it got over swamped by them, and it didn't do well. So I cut those out. But then spinach too I had, and some lettuce.
So that is one of the things I feel like that I've learned how to do that is, I feel like missing knowledge that everybody should know this, but is like your lettuces, your carrots, even cucumbers right now, like perpetual growing, like planting them from seed every couple weeks or every week. So you keep harvesting them because they finish like slowly through the season. So like you said, you did have lettuce, you did have spinach, but if you planted more right now, you'll have more again. You know what I mean? And you keep planting them every week or two if you have the space. But yeah, you can keep planting a ton of stuff. Beets, radishes, dill, basil, cilantro, especially cilantro, because cilantro will try to finish on you all the time. A lot of things. And like I said, the cucumbers too. Like I was surprised to find out that the cucumbers had the plant had a life cycle. You know what I mean? I mean, it has a life cycle, but like that your cucumber plants, if you perpetual them, the ones that you planted first will actually die off and the other ones will still be growing and producing.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I maybe that's what happened. My cucumbers just died. I killed all of them. It's so sad. I had them all trellised and shit, and they were just pumping out cucumbers. I pulled like a half dozen of them off them or something, and then yeah, the way I had the sprinkler going on them, they were like, I don't know, they like kind of wilted, like some of the leaves and shit. And I thought, well, maybe they didn't get water the way the sprinkler was running. Maybe they weren't getting the water. So I went through and gave them an extra little dose, and then they wilted even more, and then they just fucking died right off. So I know I overwatered them, but I don't know what happened, but they just weren't happy with what the fuck I did. Yeah.
Well, they oh, what is it? We had a lot of rain. I mean, it was an insane amount of rain. Like I felt like maybe it washed the soil a little bit. Like it was like the rain was so crazy. So I'm surprised that you had to water them. But
I probably didn't, obviously.
what was it? I don't know too. There's just some years are really good like pepper years, some years are really good tomato years, and some years are really good cucumber years. You know what I mean? Also, oh, I know what it was. Cucumbers don't like to have their foliage sprayed. You know what I mean? Like they like it dry. I mean, obviously it rains on them, but like watering underneath them and not watering the leaves, you're less likely to get any type of issues with the leaves. Like they actually will burn a little bit if you know, like the water droplets on them.
Yeah, that might have been part of it too. I ran the sprinkler and it was like still daylight. Because I seen them kind of wilty though, so I was like,
oh, they must be thirsty.
I know, right? I did that, and then I kind of was like, oh shit, it was one of them hindsight moves where they wilted even more, and I was like, huh, suppose that's what you do. But all the other ones were fine. I mean, there was other plants growing in the bed that were fine, peppers and all that. So maybe they're just a little.
I mean, I can't. It might be a little kind of late, but I mean, I don't know. You might still have some time to like if throw some more seeds down. I mean, it'd be worth to see what happened. You know.
They do grow fast, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I do because I guess it's more like I said, I take action. I'm more of a doer than a. I do like to research, but like, I mean, how do you know if you don't try? I guess experimenting, live action experimenting. Like, I try to push the limits as much as I can. There's tons of seeds that I planted that the plant it frosted and they died, but some of those actually came up in the spring. I was pretty excited about how much food we had in the spring of stuff I didn't plant. Just came up because, but like I said, like it's, and I love that. I feel like that is, I mean, part of nature growing it for you is like stuff that self seeds itself, you know. It's I guess how annuals survive without humans.
Yeah, it is lettuce for a long time. Yeah, you had lettuce over half the year.
Yeah,
through the winter. You had lettuce through the winter.
Oh, that's because of indoor.
the indoor gardening. You're using the cover crops for your.
Wow, we kind of like we've covered a lot of stuff on my little list here. You were talking about compost. We were talking about how we use our compost.
Yeah.
So I use it to make new beds, to amend old beds, raise soil and ones that have wear down and not as high as I like them, because we do have a high water table. So mounded rows work best for us in case we do have some crazy weather and have flooding. I've been very thankful. It's saved my ass so much doing that. There's times where we've had, like, I don't know why, but just like probably because we have a high water table and we have a clay soil. The water just wants to sit on top of the soil sometimes when we have like monsoons come through Michigan. And they do definitely have saved my ass. Like even our fruit trees are mounded. But we use our compost for our worm bins too. So we do vermicompost is like the next step. So I also use it for my indoor soil. I know that a lot of like cannabis growers would probably poop their pants watching me like mix soil with my tractor outside and then bring it inside, plant my plants in it. But I'm getting all of those amazing microorganisms that you wouldn't have in an indoor environment. That if I was to do my compost pile inside. And I use it to make new soil for our indoor, but I also use it for our worm bins. So I take the compost and feed that to my worms, and leaf mulch. I like to use leaf mulch as my base, like instead of using like a cocoa or peat, like after I harvest my worm castings and try to reuse my worms. Sometimes I get crazy and I'll, like, if we're doing a new greenhouse or new beds or something, and I'll just dump all of my worm bins into the new soil and then have to order worms and start over because I get crazy.
That's what I was just gonna ask you is what kind of bin do you have, and what process would you go about harvesting worm castings? Because that
okay. So I use all my old hydro reservoirs, like the 40-gallon, like flat reservoirs with the lids. I don't even use the lids, but all those old reservoirs are like stacked on like shelves built out of 2x4s. And
that's got to be the coolest fucking worm. I just want to say this real quick. That's the coolest fucking idea. You took all your hydro reservoirs and made them worm bins.
I sure did.
Right there, dude. That's fucking.
How many hydro reservoirs?
All right, sorry.
A lot.
How many hydro 40-gallon reservoirs do we have?
I don't know, a fucking lot.
We had eight in our portage house and 12 on top of that. So we had 20 at least.
I don't know. I sold a lot of them too.
We
do a lot of consignment at the store too, just like helping people reuse things because our industry can be so wasteful. And like, I mean, you guys got guys using new pots every single time instead of washing them. And is one of the reasons that I really don't care for cloth pots. I mean, I guess if you're never going to if it's going to be a permanent bed, you know what I mean, like you're using it for no-till and you're never gonna actually dump that out, then yeah, I guess I don't know, I kind of have mixed feelings on that because like that was like the way to go, was the cloth pots, but I'm watching people like wrap them in saran wrap because they're not holding enough moisture. It's just and they're also made of plastic, you know what I mean, and like if there is a cancer on the earth, it's plastic. If they really cared about us, they would ban plastic, not tax our carbon footprint, right? Wait, aren't we carbon? No, shit. I was gonna say, what did you ask? Worm bins. Oh, so I like to use leaves, and soil, and and then I obviously use our compost. So our compost is not, which usually has leaves in it. It usually isn't something that's completely broke down that I'm bringing in because I want them to have lots of good food. And I'm a firm believer in mulching my worm bins. So like barley straw or leaf mulch, those two. The worms love it because they eat the shit out of it, and I have to constantly keep mulching. I also like to use like waste from our garden, like leaves from pulling leaves or harvesting, and feed that. Like what I'll do is I'll pull my straw back and I will lay all that new leaf, fresh green leaf under there and cover it back up. I feel like it keeps the unwanted bugs out of it, like your flies and such like that, why there's decomposing going on there, because they like to come in there, and I know nobody really likes fungus gnats. So I feel like it does a phenomenal job of controlling that. What else? Like I don't ever put like fresh food waste in there. I'd rather put that in my compost, let it decompose a little bit, and then feed it to worms. Like I'm kind of trying to mimic like the ocean floor, things are dead already and decomposing like before they start eating them. Plus the barley straw has fungus in it, which also helps decompose it. So it's just working together in there. I feel like, I don't know, it works well for us.
How do you decide when to harvest, and what process do you go about it?
Once it looks like worm castings, like when it's like super rich and I'm like, oh, when I think that my worms are drowning in their own poop, that's usually when I do it. And it's so alive, like or worm castings, like especially worm castings you do yourself, are literally like my soil is just like moving, you know what I mean? There's so many like organisms in there. It's so alive. I want to call them diatoms, but I know they're not, because diatoms are microscopic. But you can get, especially if you're using pond water and your whole thing, you can get those in your compost. I haven't looked at it. I don't own a microscope. I would love to though and see what it is, but just like visually with your eyes, like all the like little bugs and they're just moving all around. But they look like little snails. I don't know what I'm talking about. Do you ever get those in your worm bins, or do you do worm bin?
I do worm bin, but yeah, I don't.
They're like little tiny little snails looking things. It's like a little swirl. I don't know what they're called, but I heard that they're a good sign. It means that your compost or your worm castings are doing well. Harvesting them. I like to take the mulch off and then I flip it onto like a board. I like to do it in the sun. And the worms will all go towards the middle. And then I just kind of like scoop it. I do it old school. Like I don't have like a screen or anything. I just like leave it there for a while. They'll crawl away from the sun and the heat, and then scooping it away. Once you start hitting worms again, take a break. I try to get it down to a certain amount, and I always let them have some of it still, you know what I mean? And I put it back in and mix it all in. Like I try not to just like get it to it's just worms. And like I said, sometimes I dump the whole bin out and I don't harvest them. But I try to because and then I divide them up and start new bins. But I think it's a great way to inoculate new soil, like for new beds that we put in. Yeah, especially with the soil that's alive, that's crawling.
No, yeah, like I'm a little spoiled. Like in my area, there's a local worm farm, Wormies GR.
Oh, yeah,
And so yeah, they do a phenomenal job. But I get fresh, like I don't know, I can get it fresh the same day actually that they pull it, and then they also do vermi mulch, which is like a bigger separation of it, but there'll be a lot of like the worm eggs in there, and a lot of little worms and all that too. So
yeah, that's dope. I was like, what? Luke, is his name Luke?
Chandler and
Okay.
Lewis is the owner, I think. Lewis.
Okay. Nope. You know what? There's another worm guy in Grand Rapids because I did store them. Luke and Nicole.
Okay.
So wow, that's crazy. But it blows my mind, and it's so amazing, and it makes me so happy. The organic hippie culture in Michigan, like people have no idea. Like we're there's so many of us out there. I love it, and I going to that conference was like definitely brought that out a lot. Getting to meet that there's so many people into this. These were the people I just says Worm Guy GR in my phone, Luke and Nicole, but I think I told you about them, how they had like the most adorable permaculture yard in the city of Grand Rapids. It was super cool. At the tiniest yard. And he had like a subterranean greenhouse in the middle of it that he had like bought the township, and by having it short enough, by burying it, and got to keep it. I don't know, it was super cool.
Yeah.
Their worm farm's just right out of town though.
All right. No, I actually know of another one too, just west of me a little bit too, in Zealand, and there's a lot around. That's actually a good thing to point out, because that's something I've heard, not a lot, but I've heard people say like, oh, I wish there was something around me, and it's like, do a internet search.
Yeah.
'Cause you'd be surprised, man. There's probably 3 of them around you. It's like you don't know until you look sometimes, and that's a big thing, because like ordering in my recollection, the more I learned about it, like ordering in a compost or a worm casting from a different state, it's number one, it's really wasteful because you're sending it and shipping it, and number two, it's like, what are the odds like that it's gonna be what you really need it to be for, after in the microbes in your environment, basically, so what,
Yeah.
like, I don't know, it's kind of it's not that it's not helpful, but it's like a realization I've come to recently, just kind of like, yeah, like, it doesn't make sense to have something from California when I'm in Michigan, you know what I mean, like, or something from Florida when I'm in Michigan or whatever,
Yeah, no, I agree with you like so much, because I obviously having the store deal with that a lot, and people wanting to me to order something for so I guess one of the biggest things that I run into is with Build a Soil, because I told you how like we specialize in no-till and organic, so I do carry a lot of Build a Soil stuff. I carry, and like I said, DEM. That has always been a conflict though, and I've always tried to source locally, but then, oh, no, I want the kind that Build a Soil uses, so like it's incredibly expensive to ship. And so like, of course, I love so much of their products, and they are Jeremy or Build a Soil, like that is definitely like one of like the people that I look up to in the industry, as far as like modeling myself after, I guess, and I've learned so much. Like, I love that there's so much free information. That's definitely, Build a Soil is definitely on my 3rd page of reference for people to like check out and watch and read their website. There's so much information on their website, and I love how open they are about like recipes and how to use stuff, and because I think that the type of growers, I remember when I started growing and people were like so hush and didn't like there was some secret that they were trying to keep, so they don't want other people to be better at growing than them, but they're so silly. Like, I don't know, knowledge should be free and shared so much, I mean, it's what makes us stronger together. I mean, there is no me and you, there's just we against them, which them is like a lot bigger than all of us, so we all got to have each other's back. We gotta have each other's back, you know what I mean? Like, especially that's something also the Caregivers Coalition thing. I don't know if you know what's going on with that. There is a group out there. I don't know how organized they are, but that's something also that Rainbow Farms is starting to be part of, as well as myself, to help caregivers know their rights and keep their rights. I think that it's very, very essential. The recreational law was written to protect us and allow everybody to have free reign to grow their medicine. And I think that needs to be, we need to come together to protect that.
Also, you vote correctly.
And fuck the MCMA, right, Kizu?
Vote correctly. Let's all vote right.
Yeah. Yep.
Let's all vote correctly.
No, is our friend Casey. You probably met him. He was at that thing too. You probably met him.
What was his name?
Kazoo or Kazoo, but it's Kazoo on here. But anyway, he's an artist and he draws a lot of these pictures, and it's like fuck the MCMA and all this stickers and shit, and a lot of his posts will have hashtag that, so it's funny.
MCMA. What is the MCMA?
It's the Michigan, whatever. It's the corporation people trying to fucking shut out the cannabis, the caregivers.
Yeah, I know there's something going on like September 15th too in Lansing, if I'm not mistaken, like some type of protest, maybe a gathering.
It's like big corporate. It's like, yeah, they put up, I don't know, like 10 million in money to lobby against changing the caregiver laws. So they want to do away with it. Basically, in Michigan is their push, or what they're spending their money for. So
right on. I wonder how. I mean, I feel like I feel like it's very difficult for them to be able to do that, being that that law was passed by the people, you know. I know that there is like in every law, there's ways around or gray areas and stuff like that, with every type of law and interpretation. But I know that one thing that's important for us as caregivers is to be going to our town hall meetings and speaking with people to help get an ordinance in your township that protects your caregivers, that has you, because that's what they're gonna do, is go around the township passing laws to or not law, but an ordinance saying we're not going to allow caregivers in our township, where we need one that's already in place that says yes, and it allows them to set rules too, like keeping it away from schools or and such. So living in a community that has one is far more important than living in a community that doesn't. And a lot of people who are rural, they're like, oh, well, we live in the middle of nowhere, like they don't care. Well, that's the ones that they may go after first, because no one's watching, no one's listening, no one's paying attention. Where you have the bigger cities that were like, everybody's just growing everywhere, and they're like, well, you can't have it, visible, or the smell has to be controlled, or you know what I mean? Like they need to be away from schools, they need to be away from churches. So I feel like more in the city, you actually already have a caregiver ordinance, where in the country there isn't one, So that's really important to step up and do that. I think that that's what's missing in our society is communication on what rules and governs us. And it starts locally. I feel like we all locally should. It used to be back in the day, everybody went to the town hall meeting. Now, I mean, most people don't know even what day and what time theirs is.
yeah,
that's not good. We are adults now. It's time to adults. I don't know. I'm the one, no one to talk. Like it wasn't till something that means something to me that I start doing that, and I guess maybe that's true for a lot of people, but now's the time, man, to rise up.
no, there's definitely, there's been some challenges and a lot of I will say shout out to it, because like the last time we had heard about there was like a senator or something putting up a motion, or had the idea basically, and like caregivers flooded them, like everybody was calling them, emailing them shit. Yeah, and dude was like, all right. Sorry about that. Yeah, so he ended up, but yeah, we're not gonna do it. Like, stop calling and shit.
Well, so I heard that there was like a something that was circulating, like a post or something like that had like some names on there of businesses that were part of this anti-caregiver stuff that was circulating, and some people did like boycott, and I've had there was a big name.
There's a lot of big
DNA
names.
Genetics was one of them, and they put out it made such a ruffle, out there, and it was just like I feel like it was just like a single post, but it made they like put a statement out that they were not affiliated with that, and that's not true, kind of thing. So
yeah, there's been a few of them trying to dodge around some of the repercussion of that, but You know,
We knew it was
that's another thing,
coming.
though, shout out to the community because like they spread the news fast, and like you don't have to be far away from tuning into some of that to hear about what's going on. Because there's friends I know, I see, like shout out to Jack, shout out to American One, the guys in the chat here, but there's a lot of guys in different states fucking reposting that shit, boycotting them in their states. Like they won't buy, if they go to dispensary, they're not buying from them there either, and it's
it's
what else
so
can you do?
we all knew it was coming, and that is something that we literally were feeding the dragon. Literally,
Yeah,
dispensers popped up, and we're like, yeah, sure. Sorry, patients, I'm going to the dispensary. You know what I mean? And like, now they're cutting us off, and they're going to chop our legs off. But we fed them.
yeah,
Like
we gave
a
them the
lot.
$10 million that they're fucking using to
Yeah.
get. Yeah,
And you better believe every grower running this shit was a caregiver, before you
they
had to
were.
be a caregiver to have a license. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So this is oregano.
Oregano.
Not oregano. This is sage.
Okay. Give me
It's for the veggie burger tomorrow.
Sorry.
It's in one of my little cannabis jars. But he's like, wait a second.
Yeah, AK.
That was a bag of parsley, bro.
All right.
Yeah.
Those are pencil shavings we put in a
What the fuck am I
bag,
dealing
man.
with
It wasn't even.
Oh, I love it.
I love my wife, but damn,
It's funny.
what are we doing here?
Oh
Yeah.
shit, what was I saying? Oh, I was on some like rampage about caregivers
Yeah,
there.
we were on
I was
caregiver
trying-
law, but let's shift back to the garden though.
Yeah,
compost,
that's a
what else
great
do
idea.
How often are you applying FPJ to the soil?
When I feel like it, I don't know, when I think of it, like I said, I don't have a lot of rhyme or reason. I also don't do compost teas as much as probably some people do. But I just feel like the soil's already doing so amazing, and like our ecosystem is so alive. Like that's what I was talking about. Like sometimes our greenhouse ecosystem is so amazing that like I do like the IPM spraying, like foilers or whatever, soaps, oils. Is that an enzyme? No, it's an organism, bacteria, lactobacillus. As like foiler sprays. But like once we get into flower, like I depend on beneficial bugs. But sometimes our ecosystem's so amazing in there that there's just so many lacewing eggs and baby ladybugs that I'm like, I ain't spraying in here. I ain't trying to interrupt shit, So that is like what I strive for, is to have like an ecosystem that's so under control. I'd say one of the only things that is my best control or my best combat that I can come up with, because nothing else seems to work, is for what you were talking about, your broccoli grinder. Is netting. The little white butterflies that are actually those little green caterpillars that love your cabbage. I don't know what they're called exactly, but the best way to keep them out is the only beds that I will net is like my broccoli, cabbage, greens, like the color greens and kale sometimes in there too, like because they will get devoured, and there's just so many of them. Those that my best way to control those. I mean, I've tried to spray like soaps and shit like that, but like just manually squishing them. Or just netting. Like netting works so good, and then you don't even have to worry about it, because they come in there and lay those eggs that turn into those caterpillars that eat everything.
Yeah, and you just net them to keep the flies out or whatever, or moths out.
No, to keep those little white butterflies that turn into the green caterpillars that eat them. I wish I knew what those were called. Right now, I can't think of them because hi.
How long do you have to keep the netting on then?
And pretty much the whole time. I mean, and like yeah, because those, at least with like cow and your collard greens, you continuously are harvesting them. So sometimes, I mean, there's some beds that they're in that they're not covered and they do all right, and then sometimes they get devoured, but obviously like cabbage
Alright.
and broccoli and cauliflower. You know, I won't net them after I harvest them. That's what I also was gonna tell you. Like your broccoli probably isn't gonna harvest until this like later in the year. Like it won't. Yeah. I didn't know that about like you have to plant them like super early to be able to harvest them early, and then the stuff that you get in too late and it's too hot will actually finish out at the end of the year. I learned that last year because I pulled some of them because they were so eaten alive and I thought they were dead. I was like, and they never turned into cabbages.
Oh, I got
So I must have got them out early enough the year before because I actually had cabbages pretty early, and
also fucking nasty bugs.
But yeah, those will finish later. So will your cauliflower.
What?
But what else? What else do I have here?
I was just gonna ask, how did we do on the list? You got it covered.
We actually really flowed really well through it. Beneficial bugs. I know I said lacewings, predator mites, the cucumaris. Those are those are my favorite ones. For in flowering, even in our indoor too, like in our flower room, I like to use those. Ladybugs obviously are not the best option unless they're like natural, because ladybugs actually haven't been available at all lately. I don't know if you know that or not, because of all the fires. They are actually harvested. So they're not my favorite choice for a beneficial bug because of that, because you're harvesting from their natural environment and then putting them wherever you want. I was pretty sad to hear that, where actually they breed the lacewings and the predator mites and such and nematodes. So that's like more of a sustainable, beneficial bugs.
Yeah, who do you get your predator bugs from?
My store, Green Earth Hydro. Yeah. And I feel like I should be talking to some of these local worm farmers because like to get worms from them, since it's like more local. That was something else that I was talking about that we started getting on, is people wanting me to have stuff shipped. There's so many things like readily available. Morgan's Compost, which is up not far up north. It's Sears, Michigan.
Dairy do.
Dairy do. Yeah. So like they are an incredible resource for everybody, for minerals. Like you could buy Tennessee rock and basalt from there. I carry their stuff in my store too if you're farther down south. There is a glacier rock that is in like Ohio, I think. I have to look it up again. I know I have it saved on my phone.
Michigan's on a glacier. We were a glacier.
Really?
Yeah,
we should have some type of rock harvest somewhere.
We do.
A glacier region.
It's called granite.
Yeah, we have a glacier region. So.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of beneficial rock dust available in Michigan.
Really? We have to talk more about that because I am looking for a better source.
Better source.
Like this.
Right here. I have a source. I like my love.
Yeah, because I was looking for somewhere to find it because that was one thing that I was running into that is obviously really heavy. It's rock. We have a lot of glacier rock that's getting shipped around and trying to like have a local source. So if you can definitely point me in the right directions with that, I would love to do that. Compost, where if you're not making your own compost, like sourcing compost, super easy. Craigslist, Facebook. There's a lot of really amazing composts out there. There's also crappy ones too. I definitely go check it out and see what it is that they're offering. And it should be very light and dark colored. So to be a good compost. Fluffy and dark. What else? Same thing with like the straw, like for your mulch, like locally sourcing that too. There's lots of farms around. Googling and the same thing, like the Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist, like great sources for finding stuff like that. There's even people who you have like leftover substrate from their mushrooms that will let you buy like their grow bags or whatever that has their substrate in there, which is an excellent inoculant for your soil and also for, you know, using it for mulch.
Yeah, your friend at D's Bags is good for that too.
Yeah.
These bags. I love those guys.
Yeah,
Sierra and Darren.
Darren.
Yes.
Great
Yeah, those
guys.
guys are awesome. Like I actually we're supposed to, this was planned before COVID and we never did that, but we're supposed to do a mushroom class.
Cool.
Yeah, Sierra is actually was going to teach it. So hopefully we can get that back to set up and going rolling again.
That'd be cool. They're really cool people. They actually hooked me up with the King Stropharia mushroom. It was one they didn't grow, and he got some and started it and got me some bags of it. So shout out.
Cool.
That's cool. So now they offer that if anybody wants to add that to your garden. They're great decomposers.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
Nutrient.
that's super cool.
Yeah.
But you know those guys.
We will roll some good joints. So.
Right. Roll this. That's good.
I can't find my list again. I don't know where we go. Yeah, I guess we kind of talked on IPM, like always treating even if there's nothing there. And with natural things, obviously, like I said, the soaps and oils, beneficial bacteria like your EM1 and beneficial even fungi like Bavaria bassiana. I know that it's an issue with like microbial testing. So that's another reason that I only do those type of foilers in veg. So that the plant growth has grown past that for if you do have to go through testing for your cannabis. So you don't go over the microbial count. So then after in flowering, I like to go for beneficial bugs. Powdery mildew, our arch enemy, worst thing in the world that could ever happen to you. It is not curable. It is systemic. It becomes part of the DNA and passes on to the next generation or next clone. Maybe not next seed, but to the next clone. So the only way to really get rid of that is to toss it and clean your room and start with some new seeds. It's not worth the fight, man. But it is natural, and I feel like that's one thing that growers are scared of and like have this like stress and dilemma over is bugs and disease. Bugs and disease are part of nature, and it is basically an imbalance of good and bad, negative and positive, because it's pretty much that all exists in all things. Everything is circular in that way. And that's essentially how EM1 works is 80% of bacteria is neutral, and then like 10% is good, 10% is bad. And by you using beneficial bacteria in your environment, you are making sure that the positive is stronger or more abundant than the negative, because all of those neutral bacteria will mimic the good bacteria if you keep that balance going. That's like, I guess the ideology behind how EM1 works. That's what my take was on it from all the videos I watched. But what did that have to do with it? I don't know. Something about powdery mildew.
Because the EM1 can battle against that, or it
can help prevent it. Yeah. And mostly I feel like the surface bacteria on it, but it also just overall like it must be good for its immune system, because they just seem to like just be more happy and vigorous and healthier. Or like if you do comparison, of a plant that you've been using it on and not using it on. And we talked about that earlier, like deleafing or defoliaging your plants, and how like that's like one of my favorite ways for pest control. One, because if you're under there working on your plants and looking at your leaves, you're going to identify if you have an issue right away. Two, like you're increasing airflow and getting your leaves and foliage away from the soil and giving some space in between there. So obviously if everything's touching the ground, it's very easy for bugs to crawl up there. A lot of times I will cut my cover crop of anything that is directly under my cannabis plants to protect them. I do sometimes let things go and it gets crazy, and I got hairy vetch? Is that how you say it? You know what I'm talking about? It's cover crop. Am I saying it right?
Yeah, there's a
I've had some hairy vetch that has literally like golfed my cannabis plants before, like, and I'm like ripping it out so I can even get to my plant to harvest, and it's just like covered in trichomes. It's messy and sticky. But I try not to let that happen occasionally. Like, I don't know, man, that thing goes crazy in our indoor sometimes. Like a lot of it is too, like when things get congested in there towards the end, like because our rows will like.
Well, they're sneaky too, so they get up the stalk like before you notice them, and then all of a sudden they're like, then the leaves stick out. You know what I mean? And you're like, where did you come from?
Yeah. No, I hear you for sure. But yeah, I'm a big fan of deleafing also for quality of your nugs. You know what I mean? Like, I was really scared at first with it because it was kind of like, oh, you know, really, we're gonna pull this many leaves, or what about stressing it while it's in flower? You know what I mean? Like all of those different like ideologies behind that, you know, not disturbing and not distressing so that they yield better. But honestly, like I have noticed a increase in yield and a increase especially in the quality of my nugs, you know what I mean, like having more larger nugs even farther down into the canopy, or like because of the light penetration that you're getting by removing some of these giant water leaves. It is a little time consuming, but I think that is worth it. And I don't defoil or deleaf as heavy as some people do. Like some people, I'm sure you've seen, like just nugs. You know what I mean? Like I don't know why, but I just don't have a heart to do that. But I will, like if it's blocking another cola that could be a beautiful big cola, you know, in the future, like I will pull it and definitely hollowing out in the middle, you know, for airflow.
That's definitely the reason I do it too. The focus anyway. Airflow, trying to clean up all the little armpits and all the shit there, and all the inners.
Yeah.
Hairy girls aren't cool. Just saying.
And then we talked about the healthy ecosystem and how that is like your ultimate defense to a healthy garden. Also, if you are doing greenhouses and doing outdoor, cannabis in Michigan does not grow well in part shade or part sun. Like you gotta have full sun, otherwise you have a high chance of having mold or powdery mildew breakout. Full sun's the best. I mean, I believe it's UV rays actually like inhibit it or kill it. So I mean, it's pretty important. All day greenhouses over growing indoor, especially if something like the Green New Act or whatever it's called passes, and you know everything has to be sustainable energy. Like growing in greenhouses and learning how to master that is pretty important for that. And sunshine's free. Like, I mean, we're trying to get our costs per yield down, right? I mean, is this a goal as to survive? When it's national, not even national, international, man, because that's coming, you know. Obviously maybe not as a caregiver, but like for those that are getting licensed as growers when we are maybe possibly someday forced to. What happened?
Yeah, it's gone.
Sorry.
I had to cut it in half because it's all clogged.
I don't know if you see this, but this is the joint that he just handed me. It's just like lit it, I thought.
Well, It's
I'm
clogged.
sorry.
It's clogged. It's
It's
kind of
late.
humid out here at the lake.
It
so
is. We're sitting on the patio.
It's a little humid out here.
I did
so.
notice that. What was I gonna say? Let me give it here. Let me do it.
Want some more weed? I can handle it.
Yes, ma'am.
Not even wet. Like I ground it.
You rolled too tight of joints. That's
No,
why.
hell no. I did not. Hell no, I did not.
You do.
No. That's fine.
They're beautiful. They are beautiful though.
You roll way better joints than I do. Smoking wise. Smoking wise, she does.
My shit be punching, but
Oh,
but his is prettier.
Listen
But his is prettier.
Listen to her. She's over here fucking bragging.
Get the roll off going on. That's funny.
Fine. That's fine.
So we covered your. I mean, I don't know. I forgot where we were at, but
Yeah, I feel like we hit most stuff. I mean, mulching, cover cropping, using food, not just like pre-mixed cover crops that have your staples in there, like stuff that adds to the soil, because honestly all plants add to soil. And I mean, I guess it just takes great research to learn that. I've also heard that the plants that do decide to grow, for instance, on your compost pile, are things that are lacking in that, and that they chose to grow there so that they can add what they're meant to add to it. I don't know how true that is, but I like to believe it's true.
Yeah.
what are you
I have
rocking
one.
right now?
I had some Jack the Ripper.
Nice.
No, please don't rip it and let me see it.
I'm not
please.
gonna rip it. I'm just gonna fold it for you.
It's our last paper. Actually, I have one right here.
There's like 5 or 6.
There's more. There's
Don't
2.
mess up the last paper, man.
Don't mess up the last paper,
Hey, man,
please.
we have a whole pack.
No, we don't. It's
we have a whole
empty.
pack.
Where?
It's right in front of you.
No, it's empty.
No.
What's the lowest you've stooped to try to smoke? Like what? Like tin can or like?
I mean, I ain't passed no tin can. I smoked a tin can in Puerto Rico last time I was there.
There you go.
You do what you got to do, man.
Listen to this girl.
I'm like, well, it's so funny
She'll
because
make it happen over here.
it was way harder than I thought it would be. Honestly, like I always luck out usually. Like the last resort that I went to, like the people that I met that were leaving, it was their last day, my first day, like gave me their bag. It's so awesome. But this last time that I went on vacation with John, we cannot find it. It was weird.
Straight up could not find a bag.
Mm-hmm.
Could not find
We
it.
ended up getting it at the gas station.
we were literally at a gas station.
Right outside our resort.
Talking to a guy that was almost paralyzed.
What?
And he was on a bike. And he literally disappeared for half a second, came back and had a gram of weed for us.
it was
totally
$5
and nasty, skunky shit.
I didn't care. Smoked it out of a can.
She's like, I'm rolling it up right now. We're going.
But now I heard that you could just, bring your own.
Some places, yeah, most definitely.
Well, no, isn't it legal there now?
You just ship it to yourself.
Don't they have like medical there? I heard they did. I'm pretty sure Puerto Rico has medical. This was like a few years ago. We haven't gone out of the United States in a minute. So
shit, that was 5 years ago.
Yeah. And then we
almost
our
6
daughter.
years
We haven't left Michigan.
almost 6 years.
We've left Michigan, but we just haven't left
almost been
the
married
ground. We fly everywhere
for 6 years.
because we have to take the whole family, and I like to take the whole house with me.
Definitely the whole house. I'll tell you that right now.
I gotta have my juicer and shit. I'd like pack the whole kitchen. But off subject though.
What's your favorite piece of juice?
Oh man.
Berries.
No.
Hell yeah, you juice
No.
berries more than anything.
That's not true. I really like to do like He knows. Like he won't even drink my juice. So
I
you
already
are
know it, dude.
get out of here with
Yeah,
that.
no.
You don't want to even
It's
drink it.
mixed. It's mixed berry.
There's no
like
berry.
organic.
Almost never is there berry.
It's
in it.
organic mixed berry. 100%.
Almost never
100%.
is there berry.
100%.
I like
Organic.
kale. I like parsley and cilantro. I like to have herbs in there.
It's organic.
Those are supposed to be really good for chelating heavy metals out of your body. So I mean, they're really good for you. I like to use apples and pears as like the juice part of it to give it juice,
Really
make
good.
it juice because obviously not a lot comes out of greens.
Mhm.
I like beets. That's pretty color. And actually cabbage, like purple cabbage, because that also is pretty color, and carrots obviously.
Oh.
But it definitely has to taste good. So like apples and obviously carrots are pretty sweet, but I still have to have the apple and pear in there.
Yeah, nice.
Do you juice?
I don't for myself. I have a juicer. I juice the cannabis leaves like when I'm defoliating, and then I'll foliar it back onto the plant. So
Nice. Yeah, I don't know
like,
why I have never juiced cannabis leaves. What am I thinking? I'm totally doing that.
I don't know. There's people that do, and they say it's good or whatever, but
Yeah.
I don't know. And it's really supposed to be super medicinal too to get fresh
Mhm.
ones. But man, I tell you, after juicing them, I don't know that I could drink that. Like it's weird, man. Like it's a really like bitter smell. Like to me, anyway. It smells like
Well,
cut grass, is what it smells like.
yeah.
You know, and it's like I don't know.
So does everything else that's green that you juice, by the way. I mean, obviously except
Probably.
cilantro because that's pretty pungent, but that's why you need the pear and like the apple juice in there, you know, like to help it make it drinkable and delicious. I also like it. I know it's supposed to be better for you if it's like at room temperature, but I do like the juice really cold. Makes it easier to go down, especially if I do celery, like straight celery, which is supposed to also be really good for you. And at first I thought it was disgusting, but actually it's pretty delicious. Like after you get used to it, I sometimes I actually crave it. It's almost like a salty taste. I don't know.
Yeah, I've actually heard that too, where you start craving it after a minute. Because it's probably all the shit your body hasn't been getting, and then you're like, your body's like, wait, what was that? Bring that back. We need that back. So that is funny how that works.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy. Like I feel like that about greens too. Like I grow the lettuce and arugulas and stuff, like the salads, like eating salads all the time when I'm never in between harvests because that does happen sometimes. Like the store just doesn't do it for me. Like I don't get the same feel that I get when I'm eating them every day. And I'm sure it has to do with like nutrient intake. I actually feel like so when I do silks or aerial silks with some of my girlfriends, and I swear like I have more energy when after eating like arugula salad versus like, you know, protein or smoothie or granola bar like before, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird. It's something I gotta just transition my diet around probably too. It's something you get a little older, you start thinking about it. Like, man, I probably shouldn't be slamming fucking energy drinks or whatever. You know, like I don't know. It's kind of.
I hear you.
I agree.
It's a lifestyle, and you know we're all here just to learn and to evolve and grow together, right? And help, you know, each other find those paths, you know.
Yeah, definitely. That was cool. So, what's one thing that you hope somebody took away from all this?
I guess I don't know, inspiration to start growing no-till and you know, put it to work, man.
That's cool. Um, well, I might actually let you. I'm gonna probably actually let you do your shout out, and I'll end the show. But then, what we usually do is we fire up a wormhole
Okay.
episode, and then that would be some other guests can join or past guests can join, and we can keep the conversation going. You're more than welcome to, but we're 2 hours deep. I don't know if you even realize that yet or not, but
Yeah.
kind of cruise through a list.
Holy moly.
Completed a list, and yeah, got baked. Everybody in chat hopefully had a good time listening along too. It was great
Yeah.
info, and I
Yeah.
don't know.
I tried.
Yeah,
I actually, it was way easier than I thought it was gonna be. I was kind of nervous at first, but it seemed like it flowed super well.
no,
So
man, we're just hanging out talking. I mean, that's kind of
yeah.
like chat. A lot of times is throwing out ideas too. You, if you get a chance, go back and watch it. It'll replay or whatever. But there's a lot of extra discussions going on in chat and ideas getting
Cool.
thrown around. So
Nice.
yeah, just just having the conversation in the area to have multiple conversations happen matters too. So it's not always it doesn't
Yeah.
always have to be deep and have a bunch of Latin words involved.
Yeah, I know. I warned you about that. I was like, my terminology sucks. Like I've read a lot of books, and I've always been like, he makes fun of me because like I read the first part of a word, not the last part, and I'll make up my own word and not know that I'm saying it wrong for like sometimes years until somebody corrects me. And I've always been like that. I've always been terrible about that. But I warned you of that. That I by all means am not the expert at all, like, but I am doing it, and what I'm doing is working, and I just want to share that with others and help other people start too. It's
Yeah.
really what it's about for me.
No, and it is too. It's like, and I don't think everybody has there's like that. I guess there's not a perfect way to do regenerative, it's everybody's got a different way. So like you do the way that works for you and on your property, and somebody else is going to hear something go, oh, that's cool. I'm going to add arugula to my fucking garden
Dark.
everywhere. You know what I mean? I think that's cool or whatever. So,
That's what I'd like to see. No monocropping indoors, guys. Let's grow some food.
yeah. What's the easiest one to grow? Arugula? Is that what you would suggest? Or
Honestly, I mean, obviously starting, that's what's so great is like I don't think that people realize how easy most things are to grow from seed. Like a lot of people buy starter plants out of the fear that, because there is a lot of things that you have to start indoors and bring outside, but there's so many things that you can plant straight in the ground that do phenomenal. A lot of your squashes and your cucumbers like are best started, like you said, like from our seed outside. Well, except for watermelon, that's really hard to do in Michigan from seed outside. But indoors, like lettuces, arugula, basil, cilantro, dill, peas, beans, all really easy to do inside, and don't conflict with your space really. And then of course, I grow in a raised bed though, so like growing in a pot. But I feel like people that are doing no-till are usually using like those fabric pots. What is it called? Grassroots, I think is the name of it. Fabric pots. Or really big containers. So I feel like they usually do have some space in there to throw extra couple things in. As long as it's something that's not doesn't get too big. Like I mean, I'm sure some people probably have done it. I don't know about indoor, but like tomato would be really hard to grow indoors. You know what I mean? In the same bed with your cannabis. Or I mean, I feel like jalapenos might do okay though. I don't know.
maybe something that doesn't require a ton of like direct light
Oh yeah, that too.
or require a ton of nutrients. That's why I like arugula or lettuce. I think that's a really kick-ass idea. It doesn't require a ton of nutrient or light or under.
Yep. Mm. They seem to do. I mean, they do great for me. Like, I mean, I have some that have like some plants that have made it through more than one cycle of cannabis in there. Like they're still harvesting them, like, and they're still going strong and doing a great job, feeding me.
Yeah. So, what was the name of the girl store again?
Oh yeah. Green Earth Hydro. We have a website too, greenearthhydro.com. Starting a Green Earth Hydro has a YouTube channel too, but I have no videos on there yet. But that is something that I am starting, and that's why I, was really excited to meet all you guys at the campfire the other night. And so that's going to be coming up soon with lots of tutorials. We're going to do, how to build a greenhouse, how to do light deprivation, how to do the mounds, and how to run the blue mats, how to amend the soil, like, basically going through the motions of all these things that I'm talking about or that I briefly went through. Also at my workshop, there's going to be more information like that. And like I said, at those workshops that I'm doing, one's on Saturday, this coming week, and oh no, not this week, the August 7th, 8th, and 9th, right? Is that what I said it was? I'll double check
I believe
that.
that's what you said, but I remember.
Oh, it's the 6th, 7th, and 8th. So on August 7th at Rainbow Farms in Vandalia, I'm going to be doing a workshop at 2:00 at my booth. And on Sunday at 3:00 at the main stage. And I'm going to be handing out a guideline or instructions or syllabus or whatever you have it, a couple pages. I'm trying to keep it super short, just to give you some simple instructions on how to get started doing organic no-till, and also permaculture. And then the third page is going to be lots of references for different experts or people that I consider experts, like Dr. Lee, Soil Food Reb, Susan, the bug lady, Chris Trump. Like, there's so many of them out there, but they're definitely going to be references on there for you to find them and start researching build a soil. Anybody that's giving out free information that can help you with your cause and further your knowledge in it, if that's what you want to get into and do. And then michiganwildflower.com, that is my CBD website and merch website too.
Cool.
And thanks for having me.
Yeah, and you do have an Instagram, which we like some of the people in chat, like shout out to the wrenches they were posting and your Instagram. So you're gonna have to start following that. And
I know.
You're
totally,
on recording saying that you're gonna do YouTube tutorial videos. So now you have a group of people expecting these YouTube tutorial videos. So now you have.
We're
all gonna go subscribe and hold you to that.
Hold me accountable. That's good, because that's what I need to get going. No, I am really excited about it. And I do still need some technical help, but I don't know. Hopefully, I don't know, I can ask some questions from you guys. If you guys seem like you guys are my experts, I don't know if you realize that or not, but I don't know.
It's easy. We'll get your own for sure.
Okay. Video is pretty easy. I mean, honestly, the only thing, I'm not even gonna lie, the only thing that has stopped me, because like I work in the gardens constantly, and I'm just like, man, I should be like showing this. I should be talking about this. I should like be zooming in and showing someone like whatever it is or whatever I'm doing. Is I have no space on my phone from honestly for making videos from aerial silks. I'm not gonna lie, but I literally won't let me take longer than a 1-minute video on my phone. I need to clear my phone or buy a camera. It's coming though, guys. It's coming. I plan on it totally. This is my first step, and I am a little camera shy, and this is definitely helping. Like, this is what I need, and everything happens for a reason. Like, they asked me to do that workshop like 2 weeks ago too. Like, all of this is manifested very quickly for me. But I needed it. I need a fire under my butt, get me going, get me over my microphone and stage fright.
Yeah, there's
camera
nothing to it but to do it. That's the thing.
True.
It's like riding a bike, right? Like, you get better at it the more you do it too. So
this is very true.
Yeah. Definitely, if you guys are hanging out or whatever, we're gonna fire up the wormhole, the same number or same link that I gave you. Actually, any night you're more than welcome. I know Eagle is talking about having Johnny on to do an episode too about extracts and stuff. So I didn't
Yeah.
want to dive down that road too much, but I know he's the artist there too. So most
Yeah.
definitely be in
Yeah,
there.
he would love to do that. Like extraction is an art, man. You're right. You're so right about that.
Most definitely. But yeah, I'm gonna close it out and
Okay.
really appreciate you guys hanging out and doing the episode and jumping in the spot. Short notice. I mean, that was just last weekend, so that's cool. I'm
Yeah,
glad that
that's
really
awesome.
worked out, and really appreciate everybody in chat hanging out for the episode as well. And yeah, peace and love always, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for this opportunity, man. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I don't know what do you mean like how the wormhole thingy works, but how do you do that? Like, do we sign out of here and then it signs back in, or?
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. Actually, no. I'm gonna close it out. It'll probably just sign you out. It'll go to this blank screen or whatever. But then, yeah, the same link that you had to sign in. It'll be that same room. You go fire it up here in a few minutes or whatever. We'll be rocking
Okay.
and rolling again in the wormhole, and then everybody else can join in too. Like there's other guests that will join in. People will probably have more questions for you. I don't know. So if you're,
Yeah, I mean, I would be down, like, if I mean, just to talk to other people. How'd I do, guys? And if anybody does have any questions, I'm like I said, I'm not the expert, but I try my best to answer.
yeah, that's definitely no. That'll be cool. Hell yeah. Hopefully you come back for it. So, but yeah, on that note, man, I hope everybody has a great rest of their day if they're not coming back for the wormhole, and if you do, we'll catch you there too. So,
Cool.
peace and
Thank
love.
you. Bye.